What's up, everybody? Before we get into this episode, I got to tell you about some of the things my partners have going on that make this show possible. The first one being Latitude Outdoors. If you guys need any saddle hunting gear, mobile hunting gear, packs, anything to bounce around on public land or on private land, go over to latitudeoutdoors.com and get you some mobile hunting gear. Also, if you need some new clothing, you can't really beat ASIO Gear. They got a full lineup of clothing from the hottest weather you could hunt in to the frigid temperatures that we're getting ready to get into this time of year. They also have a lifetime warranty on all their gear, ASIOgear.com. And then, listen, I know archery season's kind of coming back around right now. A lot of the gun seasons are finishing up. If you need any broadheads to finish the season off, go over to razorbroadheads.com. They have some great single bevel broadheads from 125 grain all the way up to 300 grain. And then the ones I've been using this year that I've had a lot of luck with are the wide cut 150s that are a double bevel broadhead. Then it's so important to be quiet during late season. If you don't have stealth strips on your gear to make it quiet, you're not really trying that hard. So if you guys haven't tried out stealth strips, get on their website, stealthoutdoors.com, get you some stealth strips. You can also buy Hunting Beast merchandise over there as well, stealthoutdoors.com. And then finally, if you need some new optics, Hawke Optics has you covered. Everything you need from binos to rangefinders to spotters to red dots on every price level, they have you covered. I've been real happy with the Hawke Optics this year on top of my rifles and the binos, spotter, everything I have, red dot. It's all great stuff. HawkeOptics.com. Go check them out. Now, let's get into the episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. It's been a minute since it's been me. I'm usually just a face on here by myself, Jared, during hunting season because it's kind of hard to tie someone down during hunting season.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
usually in hunting season it's just me giving updates or chit chatting about whatever.
Yeah. I'm glad you reached out. This is perfect timing for me.
Yeah,
It's the gun season's here in Iowa, so I get to sit on the sideline for a little bit. So the timing worked out perfect.
there you go. Have you ever been much of a gun hunter?
I haven't. Growing up a little bit, I did the whole shotgun kind of family type of hunting. That's pretty popular here in Iowa. But once I started bow hunting, I didn't really have any interest in doing it any other way. I think, I always preface this with like, it doesn't matter to me how other people hunt, but for me, it's just, I love the challenge so much of bow hunting that, I simply don't have interest in not in taking that challenge side out of it. And so that's why I just exclusively bow hunt.
Yeah. How does it work in Iowa? Can you like do you have one less tag because you don't gun hunt, or can you use an archery tag or a bow on your gun tag? I don't know how it works in Iowa.
You can only use archery equipment as far as when a gun season is going on, the late muzzleloader season, which starts I think the 22nd this year, give or take a day from there, is the beginning of our late muzzleloader season, which is what most guys do that time of year. But that season you can actually bow hunt. The period we're in right now is the shotgun season. It's like almost 2.5 weeks of shotgun season. You cannot use any archery equipment during this time frame. So, I hunt the early split of the season. That's all archery, and then sit out these shotgun seasons, and then I can take my bow back to the woods during the late muzzleloader season.
Gotcha. Well, it gives you a reason to take a break for a couple weeks, I guess. Get caught up on life.
Yeah, it's needed for sure. Get caught up on everything, and it's times well with the holidays and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. November's always like for me, it's like the month that I am looking forward to the most. Like I wish it could be November all the time, But then at the end there is a little bit of like, okay, I need to
Yeah,
November probably needs to move on for a little bit,
like the bucks we chase. It's like by the end of November, they're ready for a little break. They've been going hard for a month.
Yeah, just like we have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever go travel during this time of the year since you're
I
not
have a
hunting?
little, yeah, on occasion. Just usually more like nearby states, Minnesota. I've gone up during the shotgun season. I thought about running back down to Kentucky during this little stretch, but I'm probably just going to stay home and get caught up on things.
Yeah. We are having a little. I live in southern Indiana. And we're having a little like spell of like a late rut going on right now. Just me watching
Yeah,
cameras, I guess, is the only reason I'm um, you know noticing it. The last night on the camera I had, well, I say last night, it was just after dark. It was like 5:30. Had a little doe walk in front of the camera, and then two pretty nice 3-year-olds following her
yeah.
around.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, especially when I think it's, of course, cameras, you get limited information. And so
Yeah.
we're kind of going off of what we see there. But when you get out in the woods, you spend a lot of time in the field, especially spots you can see a long ways. It always surprises me how much of that type of activity you see well outside the month of November,
Hmm.
throughout December, even into early January sometimes. Um, it's cool to watch that. It happens more often than we think, just because a lot of times we're just not in the field, or we're just not observing it with our own eyes. So yeah, I love watching that, and it seems to be even more. Easy to observe, I guess, because a lot of times you're watching a field full of deer. Every deer in the woods is in that spot, and so naturally you get bucks checking different does all out in front of you. So yeah, I love this time of year from that standpoint.
Yeah, it's not that it's a bad problem to have, but like in Indiana, we only get one buck tag, so for the entire season. So by the time archery's over and then gun season, like you hope you got one by then. Sometimes you don't, but most seasons I don't get a hunt late season around here. But
Yeah,
there's an older guy, he just passed away a couple years ago, but he always swore by muzzleloader season around here. Like he's like, I'd rather hunt in that muzzleloader season, which is right now in Indiana. He just saw really good, like more patternable rut activity, I think is how he kind of described it, you know?
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's an effective time if you're in the woods. I know a lot of people that do shotgun hunt, and I do think it depends on the farm and the deer density and the number of does, especially on your property, or wherever your hunting area is. But yeah, a lot of guys, we'll see a hot doe in these first couple weeks of December, and it's a pretty good time because you usually have 5 or 6 bucks in the mix at
Yeah.
that time.
Right. There's not that many left over by then.
Yeah,
Downfall of hunting them right now is they've been hunted all year, and a lot of them are gone, and uh, that kind of thing. So
yeah, for sure. That one buck state, or like you being in a 1 buck state, that's tough. I don't know that I'd ever kill a deer. I would
yeah,
be so worried to give up that one tag I
I
have.
know.
I'm lucky in Iowa. You get 2 bucks. Any resident gets 2 bucks, and if you're a landowner, you get a third buck. So I'm basically never out of tags, and
Yeah,
I'm happy to kill a smaller antlered mature buck, if I need to, and I can still keep hunting. But I don't know how you guys do it in those 1 buck states. I don't think I'd ever use a tag.
yeah. Oh, don't really have an option. I guess I
Yeah,
could move, but
yeah,
if I'm going
for
to live
sure.
here, it's just a one buck state. But now,
Yeah,
ever since I've been hunting, it has been 1 buck. Now, when my dad was, in his 20s, you could kill two back then, but it's always
okay,
been that way in Indiana. I think
yeah,
since early two or late 90s, early 2000s, something like that.
right.
Um, so we just don't know any better, I guess.
Yeah,
Travel,
no, it makes
travel,
sense.
travel somewhere and hunt.
Yeah, yep, for sure.
I do get jealous though of you guys sometimes. Like I've killed deer as early as October 4th or 5th, and I'm like, man, this kind of sucks.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the silver lining, like you said, is it opens up travel opportunities and
Yeah,
that type of stuff. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know that I'd ever pull the trigger because I just don't want to be without a tag.
yeah, I get that. Yeah, it gives you the at least the. Sometimes I've been out of state where I have an Indiana tag still in my pocket, and you're just like thinking like, man, I should be in Indiana right now, my home state
Right.
where I have all this knowledge, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
I think if we weren't a $1 state though, I think we would, our gun season is in the middle of the rut. It's like November 12th through the end of the month, and it'd be rough.
Yeah.
So we'd probably be Michigan is what we would end up being.
Right. Yeah. It's always so interesting to me, especially when I talk to people from different states and just the variance and seasons and regulations and the timing of everything. Um, the nice thing about Iowa's gun seasons are that they're not in November, they're not in the rut.
Mm-hmm.
But they are long. It's over a month straight of gun hunting to end the season, and at a time where you could argue that the deer are just as vulnerable as during the rut. Towards the end of the season, you get that cold weather, snow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a pretty effective time. They've got to get up and feed, so it can be even more effective than the rut. But it's just always interesting just to compare and contrast all the different seasons and just how everything's regulated.
It is pretty crazy how different everybody is. I mean, no two states seem to be the same.
And
I
no
mean,
state's perfect either. I mean,
no,
you wish you could kind of cherry pick certain things
yeah,
from different states and create the perfect system, but it doesn't work that way.
yeah. It'd be nice if Indiana could figure out a way to get to $2, but I mean, all Ohio, Kentucky, well, they're all $1 states too.
Right.
So, I mean, I think Illinois, you can kill one in gun season, one in archery. But everywhere around us is kind of a $1 state. So I don't know. I
Hmm.
don't know what the answer is. Yeah. What do you think Iowa needs to improve on? You mentioned not all of them are perfect.
Um, I think overall Iowa does a good job.
Mhm.
I would argue Iowa does a better job than most states, from a high level standpoint. There's a few little things like I think they continue to increase the number of calibers and stuff that are allowed during the gun seasons. I think that ultimately takes a toll on the deer. Even the late muzzleloader season, like we talked about earlier, was to me it was always this primitive type of season, like a primitive weapon season. Well, I mean, obviously, today's muzzleloaders are the furthest thing from a primitive
Yeah.
weapon in terms of their accuracy and the distance they cover. So I would like to see some type of regulation on that. At least don't continue to open up the type of weapons that people can use. There's some little stuff like, for example, minerals, like mineral licks. I use it very seldomly because Iowa's laws are, in my opinion, kind of gray on how close and where you can hunt in regards to a mineral lick. I think obviously for the most part, deer don't use those during the season very much. It's more of you put it out more for the off season type of supplemental feeding. But the problem is with minerals is it creates a big hole in the ground, and so to not limit areas of my properties that I can't go because there's a mineral lick somewhere close. I just don't use them anymore. Just from a law standpoint, I think Missouri does it. I like the way Missouri handles it. You can't bait, obviously, but minerals aren't considered bait.
Mhm.
As far as I know, in Missouri, I think it's just a mineral lick that the deer use mostly during the summer, and you might get a deer going to it on occasion in the fall, but it's not gonna be like hunting over a bait pile. So I kind of wish that would change a little bit, just so you could more effectively use minerals for supplemental and health stuff in the off season. But instead, I just don't do it, just so I don't have any holes in my property that I can't go near, during the hunting season.
Yeah, I had a long conversation about minerals with a conservation officer here, my local one, about it. Because in Indiana, the rule is the deer cannot be going to it or from it. Can't hunt it. So that's that's very vague. Like, you know, you could
So
almost,
super vague.
yeah.
Like, yeah,
Oh,
at some point there's a trail that connects to a trail that,
yeah, exactly.
eventually goes
Yeah.
to that.
And it has to be gone. The bait, minerals, corn, whatever, has to be gone 10 days before you hunt it.
Yeah.
I said, okay, so minerals aren't gone. Like that's, and he's like, he goes, this is what I do on my property because I use minerals. He has a sheet of plywood that he puts over it before season starts, or whatever
Yeah.
you can, whatever you want, a tarp or something. And he told me that that would suffice if he found that, you know, as the game worked.
Which is all good, but I almost feel like you have to like somehow document when you put that on there,
Yeah.
like just to safeguard yourself,
Hmm.
or have the game warden come see that you've covered them up and make him check off on it or something. I mean, none
Yeah.
of this really matters until you kill a really big deer, and
Yeah.
then
Exactly.
then you get put under a microscope for that type of stuff. But yeah, it just I don't know. It just kind of seems silly to me, just because I don't think it's a very effective. I don't consider it bait
Yeah.
during the season.
Right.
So it's just a little thing. I kind of wish I would change that just so you can actually use them more during the summer.
Hmm. Yep. You guys haven't implemented crossbows yet either, I don't think, have you?
No, not for like your everyday archery season. Um, I believe you can use it during the late muzzleloader season. Anybody can use it during the late muzzleloader season as a lesser weapon. Um, or I think you can get a medical, slip to use, or a permit to use a crossbow. I think, to my knowledge, those are the two areas you could use a crossbow in Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one I really wish there's one situation that I still don't understand. I can't think of a good reason why you wouldn't allow it, and it's come into play for me, or I should say for my daughter. She killed her first buck. Oh, backing up a little bit, I had bought her a crossbow during the summer because she wanted to hunt, and I thought a crossbow would be a good way to get her introduced. She's not nearly old enough. At the time, she was 5, not nearly old enough to pull a compound bow back. And I thought, a crossbow to a compound is a more kid-friendly, natural transition to, hunting with a compound than a gun to a compound would be. And a week before the season, I decided to look into regulations at that point and realize during the youth season, kids can't use crossbows. They can use almost any other weapon, rifle, like muzzle. It doesn't matter. Just no
Compound bow.
crossbows. Yeah, anything but anything but a crossbow. I just never would have thought they would limit that in the youth season when they can use every other, basically every other weapon. So she ended up killing her first year with a gun, and this year rolls around and she doesn't want to gun hunt at all. She just doesn't. She's like, if I can hunt with my crossbow, I'd go. I'm like, unfortunately, you can't until like the late muzzleloader season when everybody, all adults and everything, can use a crossbow. So we'll see if she wants to go out when it's freezing cold and all that. But that'll be the first time she can hunt with something other than a gun. So we'll see. But I don't know if that was like an oversight or if there's actually a legit reason they're trying to keep crossbows out of the youth season. I don't know. But to me, it seems like a pretty silly regulation.
Yeah. Can the youth use a crossbow during archery season? Obviously, probably not. No.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Nope. Not
Yeah.
basically. It's not allowed during youth season, the designated youth season. Then I think if you don't fill your youth tag, if a kid doesn't fill their youth tag, they can. It's good for every other season, but they have to use the weapon that is allowed during that season. So
Yeah.
you know, we Iowa doesn't allow crossbows during the regular archery season, so a kid can use a crossbow
Yeah.
during that.
I feel like any state, I mean, there's not a, this is my opinion. I don't have any data to prove this, but I don't see a
Yeah,
lot of like, I guess, young people, like kids, at least not out and about like I used to be when I was that age. Like,
yeah,
I have my cousin's boys, they go a little bit, they're in high school, but it just doesn't seem like the they're as into it as I was. Maybe that's just maybe most people aren't, but anyway, I just feel like
yeah,
if you hold a youth license, you should be able to just get them out there, like if they want to use a crossbow, go,
Yeah. I think you should always, no matter what, I think you should always be able to use a lesser weapon,
Yeah.
pretty much across the board. I can't really think of any situations where, if it's muzzleloader season, allow the crossbow. If it's shotgun season, allow a compound bow. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand why you can't always use a lesser weapon, first of all. But yeah, the kid thing, to me, you're allowing non-lesser weapons, much more powerful weapons for kids to use. Why could they not? I don't know. I don't know if they're just not wanting to open up the crossbow floodgates, and that leads to them
Maybe.
being used in archery season. I don't know, but I've yet to come up with a good reason as to why kids could use it, and so that's why I don't know if it's an oversight or if there is a reason I'm missing. I'm not sure, but like,
Mm,
I have some bias. Obviously, my daughter's not hunting this year because of that regulation. Like, she did a phenomenal job last year, being patient, killed her deer on her fourth hunt. Worked for it, loved it, everything. And then this year's Rolls Rush, she just doesn't want to use a gun, and that's kept her from hunting this season. So,
yeah.
again, I have some bias, but it's, to me, it seems like a silly regulation.
Yeah. I agree. Hmm. My son's just turned 6, so I'm getting to that
Yeah,
point too, where he's wanting to go now, and we got him a
yeah,
crossbow, and um, fun time. But
yeah, for sure. It's awesome.
he can use it. I mean, we can use crossbows in Indiana, so I won't
Yeah.
have that problem. But there's a there's probably a small part of me that if I could push a button and take away the crossbows in Indiana, I might do that. But I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. Well, I trust me, I'm not for crossbows for most of the population, but it's like I said,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
gonna allow a kid to use a rifle. Why can't they use a crossbow?
yeah.
It just
I think
it, it just I don't know.
Yeah. The only time I've heard a logical reason of why they don't want you using a lesser weapon, and this does not apply to the youth season. This is just like your shotgun season. Is a lot of the states just want the deer killed, so they don't want you out there with a bow. They want you to have a gun because we got to make these quotas, and people out there using bows aren't as effective. That's the only argument I've ever heard. Whether that's I think it depends on who's using the gun or the bow. But
Right.
um, so
Right.
some
Or to argue the other side of that, here I am sitting inside for 2.5 weeks
yeah,
because I can't. I'm not trading the bow for a gun. I'm a bow hunter. Like,
yeah,
so I'm
hmm
not killing any deer for 2.5.
yeah.
I would be out there if I could.
Yeah. My buddy Dave, who lives in Michigan, he's the same way. He just doesn't even go out during gun season. He just bow
Yeah.
hunts. Um, so some people are commenting, Jared here about what's the drone vibe in Iowa right now. This guy Bensman's Hunt. He says it's getting out of hand in Ohio, whatever that means. I think I know what he means.
Yeah. I don't know all the regulations, so I won't get into the legality of it. I don't know for sure. I don't use one, obviously, and never have. My take on it, I don't know, it's tough because the one side that I do kind of understand is the ethical recovery of a deer, right? Like, if you hit a deer, you should be able to use a lot of means to recover it. But with that being said, I've always been pretty hesitant on the drones, on the tracking dogs, all that type of stuff. And the main reason is I think it puts this kind of idea in the back of guys' heads that they have that in their back pocket. And I think that leads to less than ideal shots. I think a lot of guys have that mentality that if they get an arrow in them, there's a good chance they can recover it based on having those resources available. So I understand bad shots happen. I understand, it rains or whatever makes the blood trail hard, and having these other things to recover the deer is the right thing. But I don't like that it potentially opens up to guys taking less than ideal shots, being less patient, maybe shooting further distances, things like that is what I don't like about the tracking dogs and the drones. And if he's referring to like the use of drones from a deer survey standpoint, I have mixed feelings on that. I just think that it's like anything, and it will get abused, and that makes me question whether it's worth it at all in the deer woods. I think there can be a cool factor of being able to see what we've never seen before, from a deer survey standpoint. But I think a lot of it, a lot of times, it's like anything. It's going to get abused by the wrong people.
Yeah.
They're going to use it too close to when they're hunting the deer, or while they're actively hunting the deer. So yeah, I have mixed feelings on that, and as of right now, I don't have plans of ever utilizing any of that stuff.
Yeah. I don't know how it all came about, but um, Indiana, I don't know, it's been maybe a week or two ago, just put a report out that they busted a group of guys scouting, viewing, and hunting deer with drones.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gonna happen. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Um, and I don't know, man. The drone thing, and I don't know why this is the feeling for me. It just feels gross to me. Like, I'm like, dude, we already got 75 trail cameras out here. We got, I mean, it's just like, leave the freaking things alone, you know?
Yeah,
That's where I'm at with it. I don't know. I don't know why. I've had people offer to come and like survey my land because, someone's like, how many deer do you got on your property? I don't know. I'd be guessing, well, let me come out and just look at them and tell you. I'm like, I don't care.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I do care, but I don't know. It just seems like we're like, we keep pushing these lines and they keep moving forward and forward. And it's like, at some point in time, you're not even hunting anymore. You're live viewing them on your trail cameras, you're flying your drone over, and it's like, geez, man.
yeah. Ultimately, I think everyone has to draw their own line
Yeah.
on all of it. You can't rely on the state's regulation of any of it. I think you have to hunt for you. How do you want to do it? Don't worry about how other people are doing it. Don't worry about what other people think. How do you want to hunt your deer, and draw your own line from an ethics standpoint? You have to be the one, because you could argue all day long what's more effective. I mean, you could argue using a drone and bow hunting, using those two together, or is it more effective to use a rifle that shoots 300 or 400 yards?
Yeah.
Like, where you draw your own line, like, because you could argue both sides of that too. If you're going to argue the effectiveness of drones, you also got to understand that how effective some of this other stuff is, or making real-time decisions based on trail cam pictures that come through. You got to draw your own line on that too. So
Yeah.
I think that's what it's all about, is you got to make decisions for yourself, because the regulations are never going to do it for you. There's going to be stuff you agree with, stuff you don't agree with, but you can't let it change the way that you want to do things.
I, I kind of have this feeling that the drone thing's probably going to get axed eventually. I mean, I don't know. I get this feeling that because states are already, you've already seen states pop up with trail cam regulations that they never had before, um,
Hmm.
and the tech is just so cheap now. Like, everything is just cheap, including drones. I mean, they're getting cheaper. They're not cheap.
Right,
Don't take
right,
that the wrong way. Comment section. They're not cheap, but they're not
right.
$20,000 anymore. You can buy one for $4,000 or $5,000, and a lot of people are willing to spend that on something for deer hunting.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so I don't know. It is what it is. You're right though, Jared. It's not my place to tell people how they can hunt. They got to make their own decisions. Um,
Yeah,
so all right, let's back up a little bit.
yeah.
So Jared Mills, we didn't ever do like a proper introduction really before we talked for 30
Halfway
minutes.
through. Yeah.
All right, man. So a lot of people probably first, saw your name, saw your face from your Midwest Whitetail days. Can you
Hmm.
kind of back up before that and kind of how did you get into that position?
Yeah. So, um, I started bow hunting around junior high into high school is kind of when I started to cut my teeth on bow hunting, and the passion grew from there into college. I was going to college down in St. Louis, playing baseball. I was getting ready to graduate, and at the time, Bill Winky had just started Midwest Whitetail like a year prior, and I had some different career opportunities. Went to school for sport business management. Was just trying to decide what I wanted to do, but I thought, what the heck? I'm gonna reach out to Bill and see if he has any opportunities. Like, I obviously love bow hunting, and maybe it's a way to kind of build a career around that. And I reached out to him, see if he had any opportunities. He said, I don't really have any type of internship or opportunities right now. Why don't you drive up here? We'll sit down. Maybe we can, come up with some. So I drove up, and I was from Iowa, grew up in Iowa. I was just going to college in St. Louis. But so I drove back up to Iowa, sat in Bill's basement with him for a couple hours, and we kind of came up with this internship position. And so that's what I did upon graduation. I moved to Albia and started working for him. And at the time when I accepted the internship, and Bill and I still talk, somewhat regularly today, but he hired me based on, I think, just my resume and his belief that I'll figure it out, because I did not know how to turn a camera on. I didn't know what an editing program was. I didn't know any of it. And so the beginning of that internship was a big time learning curve for me. We had stuff that we were doing, on a daily basis with him filming and everything. But I would literally go back to my apartment and stay up all night long watching tutorials on how to edit and just try to learn that whole game. And over the years, I've fallen in love with that side, the filming and the creative side, just as much as the hunting side. It's a hard thing to explain to people. A lot of people wonder why I put so much effort into high quality footage and why I continue to do it at that level. Is because I love it just as much, and I think if you don't love it, you can get burnt out really quick on the filming side of things. It's a completely different sport when you add a camera to the mix, especially when you're by yourself. But yeah, over the years, just that passion grew and grew, and I enjoyed, documenting the hunts. And I love the fact that I can go back. I've been in the industry for 15 plus years now. I love that I can go back and relive every hunt I've ever had. I can pull up the video right now, and it puts me right back in that spot. And that's the reason I continue to do it today. It's not for YouTube. It's not for my career. Yeah, it's nice. I built a career around it, but if nobody ever watched another minute of my footage ever again, I would still take a camera to the woods with me every day, because it's just part of it for me. It's just so ingrained into the hunting. And so I worked for Bill, kind of getting back to that. I worked for Bill full time, or the internship turned into a full time job a couple months down the road. So I worked full time for Bill for a couple of years, and then I took a couple of jobs outside. I worked for Muddy for a couple of years, and I actually got out of the hunting industry for a few years. Kind of, it gets tough when you mix your passion with your career, and so I wanted to, maybe back off a little bit. But the key for me in all of it was that I continued to work for Bill as an independent contractor, even when I was doing a completely separate career. I'd come home to my apartment or my house and edit for Bill at night, as a 1099 independent contractor. So I continued to keep my foot in the door with regards to the filming and editing game, and eventually came back to it full time. And obviously now I'm enjoying being on my own, having control of the type of content I produce, the people I work with. Just the biggest thing for me is keeping it fun, and being on my own, having complete control over that is really what allows me to keep it fun, keep it enjoyable, and not get burnt out on it.
Yeah, you stress me out watching you film deer hunt sometimes, because you do. You're not lying. I can tell you truly love getting good footage of deer, because I've watched some of your hunts, dude, and I'm like, dude, I'd have shot this deer 4 times already. But you are
Yeah.
solely focused on, like, I got to get good footage, and then and you always get it done too. I'm not saying that, but like,
Yeah. And
yeah,
it's
it's
not
impressive.
because like yeah. And when you say like, I got to get good footage, it's for me. Like I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't get the kill shot. I didn't get it at a quality level. Like it's not because I'm trying to do it for, again, it's not because I'm trying to do it for other people or do it for the show or do it for, it's it's hard to explain to someone who doesn't film, but it's truly it's so ingrained into hunting for me.
Mhm.
Like, it's just it is what it is. Like, I want to go home at night and watch everything that I saw, and I want to be able to do that for years and years and years in the future. So,
Yeah.
I love the documentation side of it.
Mhm.
Hopefully, with the way technology's going, there will be things that come out that make that process easier.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, for now, I love the challenge of capturing high quality footage because it's like we talked, it's not easy. It's
No.
extremely difficult. But that's fuel for me. Like, I love the challenge of not only getting it done. I'm not saying, hunting without a camera is easy, but I love the challenge of trying to get it done as a hunter, as a bow hunter, but also as a videographer at the same time.
Yeah. Well, because of that's your attitude towards like, did you have some of the most beautiful like deer hunts as far that's why I call this the art of hunting. It's almost like an art whenever I watch you film a deer hunt.
Yeah.
Um, you use the best equipment and you take your time and make sure that the camera's a priority. Um, that's something I got to do better at. I mean, I'm better than the average person that takes the camera to the woods, but I still do the old let's just zoom back and hope it, sometimes whenever if the deer's big enough.
Yeah. No, trust me. Like, that's how I would advocate for most guys to
Yeah.
do it. Like, I don't know. You have to love it. If you don't love it, then I'm not saying don't film your hunts because I think everyone should film their hunts, but I don't think everyone should try to do it at the highest level because you'll get so frustrated
Yeah.
unless you absolutely love videography and the filming side.
Well, I mean, compared to even 5 years ago, I mean, the technology is like tenfolded as far as like action cams and stuff that you could use to just get some
Hmm.
footage and some
Yep.
memories. And that's literally anybody could use those cameras. It's a
Yeah,
simple
your
on
phone.
and off.
Yeah, our phones that we're already taking to the woods. It's in our pocket. I mean, that you
Yep.
can get a good arm setup or bow mount setup or something and just record it on your phone. This just something that helps you have the memories. I think that's
Hmm.
huge. I think especially realize it the more time goes by, those memories fade, right? Like, it just they become a little less clear, a little less detailed. And when you
Hmm.
have all of that, because you realize it right away as soon as you pull up an old video, it just puts you back in that spot. You remember every little thing
Hmm.
about it. And if I didn't have the video, it wouldn't even come close.
Yeah. I mean, that's my attitude towards it. I try to keep that in like the back of my mind all the time. Obviously, we're trying to make deer hunting videos and make them well for people to watch, but um, like yesterday or 2 days ago, I took my boys squirrel hunting. I just took a DJI action cam with me and recorded all of it. And it's
Yeah,
like I like knew nobody was going to watch this video, but I was super like pumped about it because I made a seven
yeah,
minute video of me and my son squirrel hunting together. They're
that's
two
awesome.
and 2 and 6, so that's
Yeah,
why I told
like you
Matt.
said, not that many people maybe don't want to watch it, but who cares? Like,
Yeah,
you have that memory on
yeah,
video.
but in 10 or 20 years, if I want to go back and put myself back in those shoes, it's
Exactly.
there to do. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, what do you think most people like when they start self filming their deer hunts? What do you think most people do wrong?
Um, Not prioritize the camera would be the easy answer, but I think not having the right expectations going into it is the biggest thing that I see that leads to people just saying, screw it, I'm not taking the camera anymore. You have to understand what you're getting into, and you have to decide early on what level. We're talking about different levels of filming. Decide early on, or at least initially, how quality do you want this to be? Like, are you wanting to capture it simply for the documentation and to pull it up and to show family members? Then do it that way. Don't stress yourself out trying to make everything perfect. Are you trying to build a career around this and create content for whatever? Then you need to be a little bit more considerate of videographer first, hunter second type of mentality. So I think setting the expectation so you know what you're getting into is step number one. Because again, the frustration is real, the burnout is real, um, and you just have to decide early on. So I think that's the biggest thing. Know what you're getting into if you decide to take the camera to the woods.
What kind of camera would you suggest people use?
Again, it kind of depends on their answer to what level you're wanting to do it at. I think at the minimum, it's your phone and your second angle or your action type cameras, your GoPros, your 360s. I've been this year. I've been using an Insta 360 cam, and that's helped me quite a bit. The editing process is not as smooth, so
Yeah.
if you have no interest in dealing with editing, maybe that's not the best route, but it has helped me a lot, or in a few different situations at least, where a GoPro would not have captured it. A standard angle camera would not have captured it. So it's kind of nice having the ability to pick the angle in post production. But I think that's the lowest levels, your iPhones and your second angle or action cameras. I think from there it's the smaller camcorder market. A little better quality footage, obviously, but still very user friendly. You could still run a lot of auto features on it just to make it easier, but it's still going to produce better looking footage than say a GoPro. More zoom capability and things like that. And then from there, it becomes a little more serious. Your higher end camcorders, your mirrorless DSLR markets. So again, it depends how crazy they want to get into it.
Yeah. I think right now, like if you have the latest iPhone, you have to spend a lot of money on a camcorder to get better footage than what that thing's taking.
Yes, and I would, if you want to go the iPhone route, like the only thing you're wanting to maybe look into, like some third party lenses and stuff that you can put on there, because that's the advantage of a camcorder is you're going to be able to zoom in and get a lot more detail than your phone. Essentially, I mean, you have some zoom capability, but a lot of it's digital zoom past a certain point. It's basically like scaling up a GoPro or something. So
Right.
if you get some type of optical lens that has some optical zoom capability to it, your iPhone can produce great footage. It's just limited by the lens is all.
Yeah. Something else that's kind of sucks about the camcorder market is the companies have kind of quit making them, or they don't focus on them. So
Yeah,
the technology in them is getting older, and they're also getting more expensive because they don't make new ones hardly at all. I think Canon might make some new ones still, but it's
right.
definitely not their niche, or there doesn't seem like anybody's focusing on camcorders. Maybe Panasonic a little bit too, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
The hardest part about everything lower end camcorders and then down is, as deer hunters, we know most of the action comes in low light situations, and that's what kills you on those lower end camcorders is the low light capabilities. That's you try to zoom in on something, and you're not gonna see any detail at that point.
No. I mean, if you're going to go buy a $400 or $500 camcorder, you might as well just turn it off 15 minutes before legal's done.
Right. Yeah.
Now you can spend $1,500 on one and get one that it's going to do well with like a 1-inch sensor, but
Yeah.
yeah. I filmed one of my hunts with my iPhone this year, and I was pleasantly surprised on how well it turned out compared to just my camcorder. I was like, okay, now, like you said, I didn't really, I was close quarters bow hunting. I didn't have to zoom a whole bunch, so it wasn't that big a deal, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do want to kind of do a deep dive at some point when I have time into like the ideal phone filming setup, because I do think that fits most guys. It's just I haven't personally done it a lot, so I have a hard time recommending the perfect setup. But I would think for the majority of guys, that's going to be the most streamlined, simple, minimal gear type of scenario. And so at some point, just so I can better recommend to people, I kind of want to dive into that world a little more.
Yeah. How was your season this year, Jared?
It's been awesome. Hopefully it's not over yet, like we talked, but it's been as good as I could ask for. I killed a really good buck in late October 25th. And then after killing that one, With my compound, I have been exclusively hunting with my recurve. I'm trying to take down my first buck with my recurve on my new farm, and it's been, like I said, as good as I could ask for. Just tons of encounters, tons of close calls. Self filming with the recurve is not fun. It's not. It's not the way to kill deer. But I'm having a blast. Just doing it. So
Yeah.
it's been a really, really fun season.
What made you what gave you the passion for trying out traditional archery?
I first got a recurve, I think in 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. I got a Hoyt Satori, and I'm still using the same one today. But I never actually hunted with it until a few years after I first got it. I killed a couple turkeys with it first.
Nice.
And it wasn't until this year that I killed my first deer with it. I'd never even shot at a deer with it until this year, even though I've hunted it with it the last few years. I was always targeting bucks, and just never had it work out. I got really close, had the camera kind of getting away a couple times. But yeah, I killed my first doe with it a few weeks back, and still hoping to get a buck. It's just, I think it is more of a late or earlier half of the season game when, deer aren't as spooky and you can get close to them. A lot more foliage and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a long shot that I kill a mature buck in the late season with the recurve while self filming. So I wouldn't count on that happening this year, but I'm still going to take it if it's the right scenario. But yeah, I think to simplify your question, I think it's just, I talked about my reason for bow hunting and not gun hunting, right? It's that challenge, that chase aspect. And the recurve is just a higher level of that. And I think that's what drove me to pursue it and try it. And I think if I wasn't filming, I would probably hunt exclusively with the recurve.
Yeah.
I don't know why I wouldn't, but the film, like I said, it's so hard self filming a recurve kill. I mean, you're talking, deer within 10, 15 yards, trying to get away with the movement of let go of the camera. It's one thing if a deer's at 40, but 15 and in is a different game.
Yeah. Well, something else people don't think about too, with the traditional bow, is you're not like, there's a lot of times you can pull your bow back with a compound when the deer's behind the tree and he's going to walk another 5 or 6 yards. Like, that ain't happening with a recurve bow. Like, right. You can't really, I mean, you can do it. You can try to hold it for, 30
you need
seconds.
To be ready to shoot. Yeah.
But the arrow's probably going to go sideways when it comes out, because you're going to collapse and everything else,
Right.
So yeah. Now, there is some benefits. You can shoot faster, especially if they're in tight on you or something, but then you're self filming, so you really can't, because now you got to get the camera adjusted.
The filming game messes it all up. But I think just the primitive style shooting a recurve bow feels like what archery should be. Like when you shoot it, if I have 15 minutes to shoot in my backyard and I have the compound and the recurve sitting there, I'm grabbing the recurve every time, just because it's more fun. It just something about it feels like it should be. It's instinctive, and and it also, the thing I didn't appreciate before I really started recurve hunting was how much it changes your hunting style.
Mm-hmm.
What the things you think about, trying to get away with hunting lower to the ground or on the ground in some cases. The places you go set up compared to where you go with a compound. How quick you can burn out spots when you're hunting on the ground compared to a tree where your scent flows a little more freely. Like it completely changes your entire hunting style. It's not just it's not just a lesser weapon from a distance standpoint. It completely changes the whole game, and that's been a really fun learning experience for me.
Yeah. I went a stretch of time before I had kids and stuff where I just hunted with a longbow, and like I still find myself like thinking about like trying to get within 15 yards, and then I'll be like, oh wait, why don't I just sit back here? Like I can shoot farther. It's just something you like kind of have to think about a little more with the longbow. Like I got to figure out what exactly where this deer is going to put his feet tonight.
Yeah.
You
It
can't
makes you a
call.
better bow hunter in
Yeah.
general, or a better woodsman in general, really.
Hmm.
Just with the things you got to consider. So yeah, it's always fun. Like you said, going back the other way, it's like, oh man, I can
Yeah.
reach out and touch them now.
Yeah. I mean, I killed a deer at Kansas with a compound bow that I wouldn't even pick the dang thing, pick the bow off my longbow off the hook. Like I wouldn't have,
Right.
wouldn't even been he wasn't even halfway in range yet. So,
Yeah, exactly.
um, yeah, it's, I don't know. People have often asked me like on my channel, cause I'll hunt with a longbow sometimes in a compound, just depending on kind of like you, just depending on the situation. And like, when are you going to go? Why don't you just use the longbow all the time? I'm like, cause it's freaking hard, man. Like it's really hard,
Yeah,
and guys that do
yeah,
it like consistently, their entire life with a trad bow, it's like, those are the elite guys to me in my mind.
I agree. Yeah, it's impressive for sure.
Mhm, mhm. I think most people because I've had some buddies that have been like, not not pooping on people that use traditional bow, but act like it's not a big deal. I'm like, dude, you have no idea. And then they
Yeah,
try to pick one up and shoot it, and they're like, oh, geez, yeah, it's
yeah.
a different ball game that they're playing.
Yep. It's another, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like you gotta hunt the way you want to hunt,
Hmm.
and make it as hard or as easy as you want it to be. Me, I'm an advocate for the hunt being enjoyable and it being about the hunt, not the kill.
Hmm.
Other people have limited time to hunt, a couple weekends, and they want to make sure they put some meat in the freezer, and I 100% get that. And so
Yeah.
it just goes back to hunting for you, obviously within the laws, but hunting the way you want to hunt and doing it for you and not for someone else or for social media or for whatever it is.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Sometimes we get in our own head and think we're like, we hold the master key to all what's right for hunting, and it's like, well, for you
Yeah,
maybe, but
exactly.
yeah, like my dad, he uses a crossbow, and he's just like, yeah, man. He goes, Bub, I just don't have time to practice, and I don't have that much time to hunt. So it's like, this makes sense to me. I'm like, yeah, shake a stick at it then.
Yeah,
When
yeah, for sure.
when I retire, then I'll use my compound again because I'll have
Yeah,
time. I
yeah.
mean, he didn't even get to go hunting this year. He just was busy with work and stuff. So,
Yep,
uh,
yep. Everyone's situation's different, and
yeah,
you just got to understand that.
yeah, exactly. That's why the laws is what it is. 'Cause, used to, well, first of all, crossbow technology wasn't that great back in the day, in the 80s and 90s or whatever. But um, yeah, it just seemed like people weren't as busy back then either. Maybe they were, but they're, I don't know. Hunting was more of a priority back then for a lot of folks. And now it's
Hmm.
just people do sports and just
Yep,
not much time in the woods.
yep. I agree. I think there's just way more competing for people's time in
Yeah.
today's world, and especially kids. Yeah, I think there's
Mhm.
way more things competing for the hunting time, and it's unfortunate, but it is the reality of the world we live in.
Yeah. And also, like, I think guys like me and you and, all of our peers that we hang out with, like, we're pretty much like pretty low on as far as how people think about hunting. Like, there's not very many people that actually care about it this much.
Yeah,
Um, and some people just want to go out and deer hunt for a weekend and kill a deer and be done.
yeah, for sure.
And those weapons give them the opportunity to do that. So, um, your YouTube channel is doing great, man. You got a lot of content on there right now too. It's just Jared Mills hunting, right?
Yeah, just Jared Mills. Yeah,
Jared Mills, okay.
yeah.
Um,
No, thank you.
yeah, I linked that in the description for everybody to go and check out, like, high quality deer hunts that from a hunter that prioritizes the camera, not necessarily. Jared's first move is to the camera to get good footage, not the bow. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I mean, yeah. I still want to kill him for sure, but
yeah,
um, yeah, I just try to keep everything real. I understand real is different for everybody. I born and raised in Iowa, and it's not the same as hunting. some other state. So I understand that, but the hunts themselves, my biggest thing is I try to keep them relatively, they're high quality, but still raw and authentic. Not I don't put music and stuff like that. Like I love the sights and sounds of what we all experience. And my favorite comments and interactions that I get are the ones where guys say they feel like they were in the tree with me. Um, and that's when I kind of know that I did my job as a producer, videographer. I replicated that experience as much as possible, and that's always my goal when I go out.
Well, man, I've never clicked on one of your videos and not watched to the end. So you do a great job of documenting your hunts and keeping them interesting. And like I said, you feel like you're up there with you. So, and it's really good
Awesome.
quality. So
Thanks. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So go check Jared's channel out. And I told you about an hour, and that's where we're at right now. Is been on here for an hour. So
That was a quick hour.
It goes fast. Every time.
Yeah.
Is there any place else you or anything else you want to pitch while you're on here, Jared?
Nope. YouTube's the best spot. I mean, I do have social media that I try to supplement some content on, but I'm personally not a big fan of social media. So I think YouTube is a better place. That's where you get the longer form, more story filled type of content. So that's typically the place to go. But guys can always feel free to reach out to me directly on social media, and I try to get back to people as much as possible. So.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching it tonight, and thanks for hopping on, Jared.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yep. All right, everybody. Good luck this season, everybody, or finishing up the season.